Hi friends, Crystal here from Homemaking on the Homestead, and a couple weeks ago I posted a video on my 7 most frugal tips for saving money in the kitchen, trying to help slash those grocery bills this year in 2022. I asked in that video for you, my viewers, to share some of your frugal tips, and I said if I got enough of them, I would do a second video on this, and boy did you guys come through. So thank you, I really appreciate that. I get excited to see what a nice little community my YouTube channel is growing, and it just makes me very happy. Anyway, let's get started talking about your frugal tips to save money in the kitchen. So I kind of gathered the tips together, I printed them off, and that's what I'm going to be sharing with you. So let's get started. Isabel shared, I try to shop online once a week for grocery pickup at Walmart. That helps me a lot to stay out of the store, thus less impulse buys. And isn't that true? Now, my daughter does that as well, and she finds also that it saves her money to be able to do the grocery pickup, not to mention time, and she's got 6 children, so she's not having to cart all the kids out and into the store and all that, so it saves in a lot of ways, but definitely on impulse buying it would save. Okay, the next one. Anita shared, I like to shop several of our local grocery stores whenever they have buy one, get one free deals. I only buy products that we use on a regular basis. Otherwise, I'm not saving money if I buy something that we do not normally use. And I believe that that is so true. If you see something that's a great deal and you think, yeah, I should get that, but it's not a product that you would typically buy or typically use, then it isn't saving you any money at all. And she also said, another way we save money, and I know a lot of people are not able to do this, but we buy cows that are either pregnant or have calves at their sides to raise and feed them. Then have our meat butchered by a local processor who charges the same per pound, whether it is hamburger or tenderloin steaks. And I think that is an awesome thing to be able to do if you are able to, if you have the space and the knowledge and you know how to do that. I think that's a great idea. Years ago, I remember hearing in my area there was a local dairy, and when their cows would give birth, the female cows were kept, but the males they would get rid of, and so you could get those for next to nothing sometimes, and I knew people that would do that. Not sure if they still do that or not, but I do remember that from years ago. Okay, she also said, we have some friends that are not able to do this, so they go to the meat processor and order a quarter or a half of a beef and fill their freezer. Now, this is something that we used to do a lot when my kids were still at home. And we would actually go to a local farmer that lives just a few miles away from us and buy a cow from him every year and then have it sent to the butcher, and they would process it for us. And so we would pay the farmer for the cow based on the hanging weight, and then we would pay the meat processing plant for processing the beef. And we found that actually turned out to be a really good deal. So as far as average prices, sometimes you're paying a little bit more than you might for a hamburger in the grocery store, but then you're getting a lot of roasts and nicer quality meats for a lot less. So in the end, it kind of balances out and gives you a nice saving. Alrighty. Adrian said, one thing I can think of is saving leftover bread. I usually save it for making breadcrumbs or bread pudding. It can be used for casserole toppings and croutons. She also made the comment, save your condiments that you have left over at restaurants. I thought that was a great idea. She went on to tell how she was able to save some leftover ranch dressing and some other things to use in a casserole. And I think that is a good little tip to always be thinking about that. She also said, keep track of how much you spend throughout the month. I think that's vital. We have to know first of all, what is our budget for groceries? If we're trying to cut it, what's the budget we're trying to obtain? And then save your receipts and keep track of it. Put it in a notebook, put it on a computer program like Quicken or something like that, so that you can keep track of what you are spending. That's very important to help save money and at least make you aware. All right, the next comment is from Angie, and she is an empty nester. She says it's down to just the two of us, and I don't cook nearly as much unless everyone is coming over. Now I usually cook 3 meals per week and make enough to have leftovers for 3 nights and a couple of lunches, and then we eat out on Friday night. Even then, we usually split a meal or either go to a place that we know will have leftovers for the next day. And my husband and I, we don't really go out to restaurants very often, but on the times that in the past that we have, we always do the split a meal. I think that it cuts back on so much. In fact, it wasn't even too long ago that we had gone out to breakfast with one of our kids, and we saw, one breakfast entree, and we looked at that and said, you know what, I think we can split that. So we ended up, it was like, I don't know, $15 or $18 for one entree. And so therefore, since we split it, we saved the extra $15 or $18, whatever it was. Okay, I liked this comment that Angie also made. If you can find an Amish store, they have great prices for spices and such. I think that's great. Now, I live in the Pacific Northwest, and there are no Amish in the Pacific Northwest. So one of my dreams has always been to travel and be able to go to an Amish store. I think that would be so neat to see, because I've heard so many good things about them. So obviously, if you live in an area that has something like Amish stores, I think that would be a great tip to find your spices and anything else that they might have at better prices than what you could find in the grocery store. She also mentioned that having a garden saves them a lot of money, and I know a few other people have mentioned that, and I would have to agree. Back, especially when my kids were young, we had huge gardens, and not only did we eat out of the garden for all summer, but then I canned enough oftentimes to last us for the rest of the year. So gardening can be a good deal. And the last tip from Angie was, I think a huge money saver is just stay out of the stores by only going when you need to buy groceries, and always have a list for what you have meal. I would have to agree with that. When I lived in the city, it was so easy just to hop in the car and run to the store because you needed some sour cream and you needed, something else. And then while you're there, you grab this and then you grab that and then you go home. And when I moved out to the country and my closest reasonably priced grocery store was 45 minutes away, I had to really relearn learn how to shop, meal plan, cook, and do all that. So I only ended up in the store once a week, or sometimes I would even go 2 weeks. And that will save a lot from that. Again, it's that impulse buying. It's that grabbing a couple things. Oh, I might as well get this while I'm here. It can save you a lot to just plan well and then stay out of the stores. All right, Christy also mentioned gardening, and she says when my husband goes hunting or fishing, that helps save us a lot. And I think that would definitely save. I have friends whose husbands hunt, and that is a great way to fill your freezer. My husband is not a hunter, so that isn't something that we've been able to take advantage of. But if you have a hunter in your house, then I'm sure that's a good way to save some money. Christy also said, we do not buy sodas or juice. We do milk, teas, coffee, and lots of water. And I would say yes. That I don't buy soda. Now, sometimes my husband likes a soda, but over the years, in general, unless it was some special occasion, I did not buy any kinds of soda, and I do not generally buy juice. We eat a lot of fresh fruit, which I think is healthier for you than the juice, and so that saves money too. Mostly for me personally, I drink coffee, I drink tea, and I drink water, and that's pretty much it. I rarely drink milk. I'm not a huge big milk drinker. My husband is, but I'm not. And also, this was another tip from Christy. She says, lastly, we buy 3 big turkeys when they go on sale for 68 cents a pound. We can get so many meals throughout the year with just the 3 turkeys. And that's a great idea. I think when Thanksgiving comes around, we're just thinking about Thanksgiving meal and not necessarily what a great deal these prices are and how much meat you get from one turkey. And I have done that in the past too. I've done, would buy one for the Thanksgiving dinner and then another one to utilize throughout the next year. So that you can get a lot of mileage out of that. Beth shared, I try to cook simple meals that are quick for weeknights. We both work full time. When I can, I try to double the main dish and put one in the freezer for later. Yep, that's that batch cooking, and I think that that definitely does help. Also, simple meals. Simple meals tend to use less ingredients, and they go together quickly and are oftentimes much more economical. All right, my next tip is from Joy from She Builds Her Home. And she says, some of my best money savings is to meal plan and to shop first from your pantry and fridge when you're planning those meals, and that's a great idea. I started doing that, well, I've been doing that for years, but in the last few months I went through my pantry and started rearranging my canned goods, making sure that I had the dates that were the farthest out up front. And what I found is I had several things in my pantry that were either getting very close to their expiration dates, and now I know it's okay to go beyond that, but I do like to keep my pantry organized, and I had some that were actually outdated. So I took all of those cans and set them into a separate spot, and then when I went to plan my meals, I was first looking in that I put them in a box, and I was looking in that box first to see what I had and how I could turn that into some sort of a meal. So yes, shop from your pantry and your fridge and your freezer first before you go out shopping. She also said that she likes to use websites such as Supercook to search for recipes with all that you have at home already. Now, I had listened to one of her videos, and she had mentioned Supercook, and I had never heard of it before, so I went and checked it out. It is a really cool website. So if you have some ingredients on hand and you're trying to figure out what to do with those, to use them up or to just utilize them in your meals, you can put that into the website and it'll come up with recipes and ideas on how to use those foods. So I think that's pretty cool website to check out. And I will try, if I remember, to put the link to Supercook in the description box. Okay, my next tip is from Simple Christian Living, and she says, my best tips are to be flexible. If something is a good deal or on sale at the grocery store, use it instead of a pricey item. Don't be picky or brand loyal. And I totally agree with that. I tend to always buy the store brands or the least expensive brand. I'm not a big brand loyal type person. And this other tip I really like too. She says the biggest money and health saver is don't overeat. Understand a true portion size. So I have to tell you my own personal story about this one. So about 20 years ago, my youngest was just 2 or 3 years old, and I weighed, I was 100 pounds overweight. And I knew I needed to do something, but I'd spent a lifetime of diets and trying all kinds of different things, and I just never had any success. And I knew, as a busy mom of 8 kids, that I couldn't do that. I had to pretty much eat and cook whatever it was that I was serving to the rest of the family, and not be spending my time doing something different for me. So the only thing that I did is I cut the amount of food I was eating in half. So whatever my normal portion that I would dish out for myself on a plate, I did half of that. And then the other thing that I did is I just waited until I was actually hungry and tried to focus on the triggers that would cause me to eat or overeat, if there were any. A lot of mine was just baby fat accumulated from 8 kids, but nonetheless, we all have something. But it took me 18 months, and that was it. That was all I ever did. I never worried about what it was I was eating, or because I felt like I cooked healthy food for my family, so I wasn't eating junk food and that kind of stuff. But it basically, as long as I waited until I was hungry and ate half of my portions that I normally eat, in 18 months I was able to lose 100 pounds. So it was pretty remarkable. Now, all these years later, I've definitely gained some of it back, and after I read her comment, I'm like, maybe it's time for me to think about that. Not only is it better for my health, but I guess I could say it will save money on the grocery bill too. So nice tip. Thank you, Simple Christian Living. And I think this is my last one, and this is from Kathy. She says, I always try to purchase my food as cheap as possible. Amen to that. So that's, that's a good way to do it. I use electronic coupons at Kroger and try to use them when the product is on sale. Then I redeem the points earned on my gasoline. I fill out surveys for more points. Once I was part of their survey team, and they would send me free food and coupons beautifully boxed. I purchased most of their house brands as well. So I think that is pretty cool. We don't have a Kroger in our area, but we do have a store called Fred Meyer that is owned by Kroger, and I'll have to look into that to see what kind of deals they have. It's not usually one of the stores I shop at, but I would be willing to check that out and see maybe there's some good stuff going on there that I need to look into. She also says she purchases most of their house brands as well. Okay, she also mentioned when I cook hamburger, I freeze some crumbled to put in spaghetti or on top of pizza. Freeze peppers so they don't go to waste in my fridge. Stale bread makes good French toast or grilled cheese. Leftovers, yes please. I have heard of people that don't eat leftovers, or their family doesn't eat leftovers. I've never understood that. Maybe because of my frugalness, I just cannot fathom tossing it or not eating perfectly good food the next day. I've had a few things in, that maybe I remade into something else in order for it to not be the exact same thing. So maybe I turned something into a casserole from, we've had it for a couple nights, I turn it into a casserole or something like that. But to just not eat leftovers. I think leftovers are wonderful. I had a daughter, one of my daughters, that her favorite thing to do was to have leftover dinner for breakfast. And she would prefer that over pancakes or oatmeal or anything like that. So leftovers are a good thing. She also mentioned omelets are a good way to toss in veggies, cold meat, salsa. Stale soft tortillas are great, baked with butter, sugar, and cinnamon. And lastly, I got rid of my Keurig and used a Mr. Coffee. So that is my story too on the Keurig. I absolutely loved my Keurig. It was so simple, especially with my husband working graveyard. I wasn't having to, go through the process of making myself a cup of coffee in the morning. When I got up, I didn't need a pot of coffee because he was already asleep. And so it was so easy to just pop in the little Keurig cup and boom, I've got coffee in a few minutes. But oh my, the price, you just really have to at some point say, is this really a value for me? And I even tried, the little reusable basket and putting my own coffee in there, but it never tasted right to me. So that really wasn't an option. And in the end, I ended up giving my Keurig to one of my kids, and I have a little coffee filter that I set on top of a cup when I just want 1 cup of coffee, and I just use regular coffee. And I have time. I can spend the few extra minutes to make the coffee that way, and it makes really good coffee. Okay, you guys, I loved all your tips so much, and like I said at the beginning of the video, I really appreciated you sharing those good tips with me, and we will have to do that again. Of course, if anybody else is watching this one and didn't see the first one and you have a great money-saving tip, well, let me know. Maybe I'll add it into a future video on this. But anyway, like I said, I appreciate it very much, and I thank you guys for all being here. And please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you like my content. I appreciate that very much. All right, you guys, I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.